Hello, folks. Welcome. Welcome to Mind Your Creative Business. I'm Ed Shems, Ed Fred Ned, and over there is James Stowe. James, nice to have you here as my new co-host with Mind Your Creative Business.
Thank you very much.
James is a freelance illustrator. He's a graphic designer, and yeah,
I'm an arts educator as well.
and an arts educator. Thank you. I knew I was missing one thing. And he's also the founder and co-host of
Freelance Fandango.
Right. And that's how often does that run?
That happens every Sunday, virtually here through the Graphic Artists Guild. We meet through Zoom. It's a 2-hour forum for freelance creative professionals. Pretty much any question you might have about a freelance career and any kind of creative freelance career. We don't have assigned topics, or we just talk and we work together. When I first started as freelancer, I went from being a creative director at a company to working for myself on a couch, and I missed the bouncing back and forth of ideas, just the whole office culture. So I wanted to create at least 1 hour a week where I could get that back. So that's kind of what Freelance Fandango is designed to be.
That's really great. And it's on Zoom. It's a free event, and you're over on the West Coast, right?
That's right. I'm in Washington State, near Seattle. Yeah.
Okay. And what time, your local time, what time does
it is too early. It is too early local time here. It is 9 o'clock in the morning.
9 a.m. local time. So for me, that would be 12 noon. That's not so bad. So I have yet to make it to Freelance Fandango, but I think I will absolutely try to make it. My kids usually wake up late on Sundays and they require pancakes. So we'll see. But
there you go. You can bring pancakes to the Fandango. That's totally fine.
Yeah, I'll hold them up to the
there you go.
Yeah.
So we do ask what people are working on every week. So if you want to show your pancakes, that's the way to go.
My artsy pancakes. I once saw someone, anyone see this online? I once saw someone draw the Beatles in pancake batter. Very, very liquidy pancake batter.
It is one of my skills. I can do pancake art. Of all the things, pancake art is one of the things.
I would like to see that on your Instagram feed at some point, please.
There you go. There you go.
Thank you. So we're here to talk about freelancing issues, freelancing questions, freelancing whatevers. And we love using the Guild's handbook. This is the Pricing and Ethical Guidelines handbook, and James has it over there behind him as well.
Yeah, that's where it sits most of the time. Yeah.
Oh, really? I always talk about this, so anyone who's been here before will know what I'm about to say. I keep mine usually right over there because that's where my scanner is, and this thing has 400 pages or so. It's really good for weighing down your scanner. So previous episodes of Mind Your Creative Business, we've talked about all these different sections of the handbook. So I think we'll be talking about some stuff from there in a moment. But what I want to do is I want to talk about with Stowe, James, that a lot of people call him Stowe. I'm trying to remember to call him James. So
I'll go by either. It's totally okay.
So we're only here for half an hour. Just want to remind you all, this is a quick conversation. We love to take questions, so please post them if you're watching on YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook, or Twitter. We are not connected to Instagram at this time. I know, kind of weird, but we'll get there someday. What I want to talk about is kind of like what you folks talk about at Freelance Fandango, how to kind of take care of yourself or how to work out your business from the start. Go ahead.
Can I jump in? Yeah, one of my favorite parts about the handbook is, most people when they think about this tome, this giant thing, they think about how do I write contracts? How do I price my work? Like, how do I remain competitive? One of the things that I really like about it is freelance work is not just a job; it's a life. So there's a portion in the book all about how to live as a freelancer, not just how to work as a freelancer. I think one of my favorites is, I even marked it for today, actually, is the self-employment issues section
What page is
of the handbook. It's on page 59. If you are following along at home, page
it?
59. And it covers a lot of the challenges that freelancers have that other employment opportunities do not have. Like it talks about how to schedule yourself, because you are beholden to the best boss, in theory, yourself. You need to make sure that you are working. And so how do you manage a life schedule with a work schedule when your work schedule is your life schedule? It talks about, let's see, some of the other things in here. Talks about procrastination, a serious subject for all of us in
Oh
the
my
creative
gosh.
fields. It talks about access to health insurance, which is a huge component of working for yourself. So it has these things, it has these sections in it that you wouldn't imagine or expect the handbook to have. And so you can go into it with, oh, well, I need to know, are my rates
Competitive.
competitive to other people? Like, am I underselling myself? But it also has all this stuff like, how do you go on vacation as a freelancer? Like, how do you do that kind of thing? Because that can be really hard.
You know,
Uh,
I have an Etsy shop, and they it's great because they have a button that you can press when you go on vacation. Um, so you can kind of put your shop on hold so that you don't get orders while you're away and you can't fulfill the orders. Um, Unfortunately, like if you forget to do it and you go away, you might get an order and you got to kind of apologize to people that you can't make it. But I wish that you could kind of put your business on vacation mode, but or even our brains on vacation mode. I mean, when you go on vacation, James, do you have trouble turning off? Like, do you have trouble? Do you have trouble?
uh,
Go
I will
ahead.
say, yeah, for a long time, it was a running joke in my house with my kids that dad always took his computer on vacation. And I worked, I've been employed by myself, freelance wise, for about 9 years. And in those 9 years, when the family took vacations, I kept working. So I had to learn how to not do that. I had to learn how to make my work time and my lifetime my lifetime. And if I was left to my own devices, I would work all the time.
All the time.
I think a lot of creative professionals are that way, that they don't see it as work necessarily, or at least the creative part, right? We see all the other aspects of freelance work as the work, but we never really think of the doing or the creating as the work. So you
And the
really have
problem
to
is,
train yourself to be kind to your employee.
the problem is also that, you know, as much as we love doing what we're doing and, you know, just drawing and maybe working out an idea, you know, working out a concept for a client that you don't have to work on until you get back from vacation. Like we love doing that, but our families will often, well, they deserve our time. And when I'm sitting at the pool doing a sketch, I should be in the pool with my kids. And don't worry, they refuse to let me not be in the pool with them, even though
Yeah,
they're
I'm right there. I've had similar experiences, absolutely. Which is again why it was such a surprise to me that that level of concern and detail is part of the book.
right.
Is
And there's a section about,
how do you create those natural lines between most people? They go to work, they clock in, they work in an office, they clock out, they go home. Some people, they have to think about some work while they're at home, but often, they get to leave the work at the office. Our office is our house. So how do we leave that?
well, I have a question for the people listening. How many of you use Calendly or something like Calendly? And I'm not sure, am I even pronouncing that right? Do you?
I
And
do.
and you can block out the time that you are unavailable. And what's really cool about that, I don't use it. I should. If I were a little more organized, I would. But the really nice thing about that is if someone comes to your calendar and they want to find a time to talk to you and they see it a lot of time blocked out or unavailable, it kind of makes you look like you're busier than maybe you are. So that's why I'm like, oh, maybe I should do that, because we all have to. I hate to say the word, use the words, make it, fake it till you make it.
No, you should say those words.
Well,
Everyone's doing it.
yeah, but it reminds me of that woman who just went to jail for the bio company. I just forgot her name.
Oh yeah. Well, okay. There's a difference between fraud and imposter syndrome. There's a big difference between those two things. I think all of us suffer from imposter syndrome. I don't think many of us commit fraud. There's a big difference in those two things.
Thank you for that distinction. I think you're right. So,
and I also want you to realize, because you brought up something that is really passionate to me, in that you brought up you that way you look busier than you are. If I, having been an illustrator and graphic designer for 30 years, if I can get something done in 15 minutes, but I charge the client an hour for it, that's because I've spent 30 years to get down to 15 minutes. And you're paying not just for the actual 15 minutes that I worked, you're paying for the experience that I have. So I never feel like I need to justify how busy I am.
Well, actually, this brings up a question that Yannick asked in the comments within LinkedIn. But we're not going to ask I'm not going to ask you the exact question that she's asking. So if you charge per hour for your illustration, or at least in your mind you charge a certain hourly rate, and it only takes you 15 minutes, shouldn't your hourly rate now be 4 times X? Shouldn't it be 4 times higher than your rate?
Well, I mean, that's the double-edged nature of that particular sword, isn't it? Right?
Yes.
Like, do you? I generally don't. I don't think of it that way, and I usually don't think of it that way because more often than not, projects have hidden overages. Projects happen, and there's that time you need that you might not realize or factor into your quotes. And when that time happens, I would much rather have the cushion needed,
right,
than to be like, well, I'm this fast. I'm 15 minutes fast, so I'm going to be charging you like 4 times as much. Instead, I get the benefit of time instead of money. Like for me, if I charge by the hour and I spend 15 minutes, I get my time, which is super important, especially if we're talking about life as a freelancer and not work as a freelancer. So, and that way I have 45 minutes should something arise that I need to deal with.
Got it. It's how you block time for
exactly.
a project. I see. That's interesting. You look at your jobs in segments of time. And what's really helpful is after you've been illustrating for 30 years, I've been illustrating for about 30 years, that you have enough experience that you kind of know how long something's going to take.
Oh, yes, I would imagine most people, like, that's one of the things that I say it dismissively, but the truth is we as freelancers often discount the time and money we put into what we do. Like, that's the easiest thing for us to write off. Like, oh, well, my time doesn't really matter to it, but I'm my own employee. I need to pay my employee. I need to treat my employee well. I need to have the best boss and a productive, happy employee. And luckily, I'm both of those things. So the boss can tell the employee how best to work, and the employee can then relay to the boss what needs to change.
Interesting.
You have to have a good relationship with your boss when you work freelance, because that's all there is to it.
So I have a client who sometimes asks a lot of me, and I'm trying to like gently push back or just get them to understand that they're asking a lot of me, and that I can't drop what I'm doing just to get something done for them really quickly. So what I'll do is I'll get it done really quickly, and then I'll just hold on to it just so that,
Sure.
15 minutes after they've texted me, I'm not sending it over to them. So
I'll
that
do the
my
same
plan
thing.
is to wait about an hour. Often I will remember 3 hours later to send it to them. And so I'm I'm starting to work on trying to remember how to set set notifications for myself and remind and just kind of realize what my my weaknesses are and fill those gaps with whatever it might be. So I used to not cook with a timer. I used to just keep track. And I realized at some point that's just a lot of head it takes up a lot of headspace. So I decided, this is a bunch of years ago, I'm just going to use a timer from now on. Now I don't have to, now that space in my head can be filled with whether or not I watered my garden or whether or not my kids got their homework done. And what I found is, for much of my life, I pushed back on things like that. No, I can remember. No, no problem. I got this. I don't need a reminder. And I'm starting to understand that it's okay to have crutches.
There was a response in LinkedIn that was perfect. It says you can send it, but just delay send it.
Yep, there we
So
go.
that way you don't need to worry about the timer at all. I love it. I love it.
Oh,
That's when using technology to make your life better is a key. I think it's why I use calendars so much. When I walk away from something, I often like it. It goes on what I call the back burner. Like it's out there somewhere, and I know that I need to work on it. But if it's not on my calendar, like I really set my day so that I know what I'm doing. Because if I don't, I can lose stuff. Um, so, and since I don't have any other people working in my business, I rely on technology.
so Joe is asking, Joe through YouTube, who's also the New England region rep. He's awesome. Hi, Joe. He's also a really
Hi,
good
Joe.
actor. And he played Charlie Brown recently in his local. I know it's. I love the picture. He has the picture as one of his profile pictures somewhere,
I
and
love
it's
it.
awesome. So Joe was asking, what kind of timer do you use? Do you use the software, or do you use like one of those egg timers? I assume he's talking to you and not to me when I'm
I'm
cooking.
pretty sure he's talking to you. You were
Ah,
talking about a timer. Is it an egg timer? Because that would be hilarious. If you have an egg timer right by your computer, that I'm all for that.
the tick, 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 tick would
Yeah,
drive
yeah,
me
yeah, yeah.
crazy, crazy.
I would imagine so. Yeah.
We have no analog clocks in the house because um, the ticking drives us absolutely nuts. And
Interesting.
only 2 out of 4 of us in this house are ADHD. So Yannick uses Toggle for a timer. Oh, I'll just put that up here. Now, if we want to talk about organization, how to organize your business, how to organize your time, how to organize emails and such, why the hell don't we have Yannick on? Yannick, you're going to be on one of these next episodes because I have never seen someone more organized and more, I don't know, like more, has more balls in the air, and yet she's in full control of them. And it's really, really amazing to watch.
Oh,
So, Yannick, you're going to be on sometime soon.
we should have her on for sure.
Yeah,
That'd
and
be great.
Joe, the answer is I don't have a timer on my computer. I keep looking at the clock when I'm working, and then I lose track of time. Sometimes in my file while I'm drawing, I'll actually write, right before I take a break, I'll be like, oh, okay, 1.5 hours, and then I'll go and do something else, and then I'll come back, and sometimes I remember to write it down the next batch of time that I'm working on an illustration or a design sometimes. So I haven't. I'm not good about that kind of stuff. And Andrew says that he needs to figure this stuff out as well. How to organize yourself. I assume that's what you mean, Andrew, over on LinkedIn. And Joe, my answer is also when I'm cooking, because I'm sure this is what you wanted to know. I have all these timers on the face of the oven. We just had like new construction in our kitchen, so now I have a new oven with 2 timers. One of them is a longer timer, and one of them is like 4 minutes. That, of course, I can move it. And so I keep up with my cooking that way and make sure I don't burn anything. And my wife is so much happier this way.
It's funny. I should start doing that because I just cook by smell. Like I
Huh.
know when something's ready by the smell of it. So often I'll walk away from the oven. It drives my family crazy. I'm like, no, I'm there. I'll know.
My
Um,
mom, My mom's an amazing cook, and she cooks by smell.
Yeah.
She's Middle Eastern food, and I don't understand it, so I don't understand you
You know,
either.
my dad was a chef. I think I got it from him.
Wow.
Yeah. Uh, but the same can be said, I think, for like I block out time. I
Mm,
don't, I'm very organic with it though, because I understand my own process. So I don't time myself. I block out a time and I know in that time, this is what I should be working on. This should what my focus should be on, whether it's active work or passive work. This is my focus for this time period. I don't, there was a time where I had a friend who was very rigid with their schedule. They would schedule themselves out in 15-minute increments, and then they would audit their schedule based on what they did the past day. And I tried that for a little bit, and it just did not work for me. I needed more freedom. That even though that I've blocked out the time for what I do, I can't be beholden to specific, like this needs to be worked on for this amount of time. This is all you can do. I need guidelines. I don't need time cards, right?
yeah.
I want to one of the reasons I work for myself is because I want the freedom to work for myself. So I build in the path, and then occasionally I get to deviate from the path. And that's one of the real benefits of working the way we work.
I agree, but sometimes that deviation wow.
But sometimes I need a timer. Absolutely.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I mean, I actually watch myself sometimes say, "Oh, I gotta find that email," and then I end up clearing out other emails, and then I come back to whatever I was doing previously, and I'm like, "Oh, right, right, I have to go find that email."
Yeah. I just did a knowing heavy sigh. I am right there with you.
Yeah, good.
Yeah.
And someone, I'm sorry, I can't see the name, said, Yannick, we're going to need your organization expertise ASAP. So, folks, keep an eye on this space because we're going to have Yannick on, and she's going to school us on organization, and it's going to be just really lovely.
I think if I was to say one thing that I want everybody to know about personal organization is that you know what's best for you. And you know, hopefully, or you will begin to learn what are your pitfalls. You might not be immediately aware of your pitfalls. You might not be immediately aware of what you do wrong, but you know what you do right. So focus on what you do right until you can correct what you do wrong.
Yeah.
But it is a very unique, like the way I organize myself is not the way Ed's going to organize himself. It's not the way Unique is going to organize himself. But there are tools out there that will benefit what you do. You just got to understand for you what that means. I tend to be fairly looser in my definition of time. Ed tends to be more compact. But ultimately, it is understanding how you work and live and the best thing for you to do. There's no one way to do what we do. There's hundreds of ways to do what we do, which is one of the reasons why, if I can go back to the handbook for a second, why the guild talks to so many industry people to gather the information for this book. This isn't just one author writing what they think you should do. This is a collection of industry people sharing what works for them. And that alone makes this one of the most useful tools that you could possibly have, because you're not just getting advice from one person who might prove to be not the way that best works for you. Yeah. You get a collection of experiences that you can then apply as you need it. And that is so...
I agree with you. I agree with you. And not a lot, but some people might say, well, I can just get this information online. I can just get this. The thing is that I love about this book, and then we'll stop, pushing the book, is that...
I didn't even realize I was doing it. I'm sorry.
No, we weren't. I want to reassure that we're not here to just push the book. We're here to talk about issues and how to solve them. But one of the things that I when my pushback on that is, how do you even know what issues to think about to search out online? And this is a really good book for just knowing even what to think about, how to consider things. And a few a few months ago, I may have been on Guild Goes Live, and I was talking about an art student who I had met with for a portfolio night um, online, and she didn't understand the rights that she had to the artwork that she was giving to her friends. She was giving her friends artwork based on characters that her friends had created, and there was no understanding on her part, and I don't blame her, on her part of what her ownership was of the art. Oh, but my friends came up with a character. I'm sorry, but your friends came up with a tall character with a hat. Well, you're the one who decided that he was 8 feet tall and he wore a stovepipe hat and he also had a bow tie and so she didn't
Oh, I hope she
understand that.
took that. I hope she took
I
that
know,
to
right?
heart.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm picturing Abraham Lincoln when I say that, though. So what I was telling her was, you have rights to this stuff, and she's like, I do, and she hadn't thought about that, and I know I talked about this at least twice already, so I apologize to anyone who's heard it, and if you haven't heard it and you want to hear more, you can go back to some old videos. She didn't she didn't want to put her signature in the artwork either. And so we talked about that a little bit, and I let her kind of make that decision on her own and do some research and look around. But it was all about the what you're allowed to do with your art. Like, I'm like, you're allowed to do whatever you want because it's your art, and it's your job to tell your clients, who might be your friends, what they can do with your art and what their limitations are, because you own it. You were going to
Yeah.
say something?
You're the creator.
Yeah.
Can I ask you a question though? You said that what would be her reasoning as to why she wouldn't want to sign her own work?
I think there might be like a little push these days for people not putting their name on their art. I think because I think for her, especially, this wasn't her character, it
Sure.
wasn't her character, but she didn't really have any concept of why you would put your name on the art. And, I came up with two huge things. And the first one is because it's yours and therefore you get to put your name on it. And also, oh no, three things. That's number one. Number two is for maybe there's just two. But for copyright reasons, you put your name on it. And by the way, folks, when you put copyright notice on your art, it's in this format: copyright 2023, if this is the first time you're pushing it out to the public, and then your name. And if it's a business name, you can do that as well. And that's the format. So with that there, people now know, A, you own it, and B, how many like ones and twos and A's and B's am I on? But and B, how they know how to contact you or who to contact if they want something similar. So
That's a great reason.
It's like when you buy
that's
a
the best
car.
reason.
Yeah, when you buy a car and the dealership puts their little name on the back, they're not putting it there because you want it there and it's pretty. Although it should fit in nicely with the design. They're putting it there because they want to sell to the person driving the old car.
That was spoken like a true designer right there.
I know. Oh my gosh, we're almost at 12:30, dude. Here's I appreciate Yannick was talking about whether or not there's a digital version of the handbook. And that's her response, in case you're not on LinkedIn to see that response. So we're just going to take 2 more minutes, maybe, because what I want to talk about with with James real fast is what can we expect from, let's just say, any random freelance Fandango, which is every Sunday.
Every Sunday except for weekends with federal holidays.
Or Father's Day. Did you have it on Father's Day?
We did have one on. No, I don't think we did have one on. If it's a federal holiday, we don't have one. I can't remember if I don't think Father's Day. Oh, I know. Juneteenth is a federal holiday, and therefore it was the weekend of Juneteenth. We did not have. I'm like, I know we didn't have one, but I don't think it's because of Father's Day. So you wanted me to just briefly run down what we do at Freelance Fandango?
In 30 seconds.
Sure.
Andrew, Andrew's question is, can you do this? Meaning, can you put your signature, I think, on the artwork if it's for a company? That's up to that company. If you're working for that company, you're probably working work for hire, which means that you're an employee, so therefore they own everything that you draw. But if you are designing something or illustrating something to give to another company to use, so let's just say like a cover illustration for a comic book, typically it'll be in the contract that you can put your signature on it. And
I've worked where both cases are true. Some clients I've worked with, they are all right with me signing my work. Obviously, there's a lot of situations, especially when you get more into the design side and less the illustrative side,
right,
where obviously signatures are just not appropriate.
In the design side, that's correct.
But if ever you're doing an illustration that is for use that you might sell the original, always sign it.
Always sign it. But make sure it's in your contract. Contract. It should be in there. And if they don't want you to sign it, then they should probably give you a little more money. So you negotiate that.
If they don't want to see you as associated with the work, they should pay you for your anonymity. Yes.
Yeah. But the default should be that your signature goes on that. So your contract should say that. And if their contract shows up without it, you put it in.
All my contracts say that I retain, regardless of whether it is outright buy or licensing. All of my contracts say that I have the right to promote my own work. Yeah. So it ultimately, you need to protect your own right to your own work, even if you're doing it for someone else, especially if you're doing it for someone else.
Remember, when you're creating an illustration or a painting for a client, the contract that you're signing or giving to them for them to sign should be a license agreement. So they are buying the rights to use it within certain parameters. There are plenty of companies that will say, we want it work for hire, which means that they will then own the art for X number of years, a long time, and they are the author of it, but they will still allow you to sign it. So a contract is a flesh and blood thing that can be changed, revised, made to be just right. And that's why, so come to Freelance Fandango sometime.
Oh, we talk contracts all the time.
We also have Show Off and Tell every month at the Guild. And that is a great time to show off your work and also talk about, ask questions about the industry. Our next one, and I do want to get back to you, our next one is on the 28th, June 28th, Show Off and Tell. And that's in the Guild calendar on the Guild's website. You can sign up. You do have to sign up in advance to get the link. So go ahead. Why don't we take 1 minute to hear about Freelance Fandango, and then we're going to sign off, everyone.
Sounds great. So Freelance Fandango every Sunday. It's actually from 10 to noon Pacific time, not 9. So it starts at 10 Pacific time.
Okay.
And it's 2 hours. And like I said, there's no pre-programmed topics. Whoever comes in, we tend to guide conversation. We talk about life as a freelancer. We talk about clients. We talk about portfolios. We talk any questions that any one of our guests might have. We try to cover that. We do portfolio reviews if requested. We even talk about like when I say the life, one of our favorite things to bring up at least every Fandango is, hey, what did you watch on TV this week while you were doing work? Because more often than not, you're just alone with yourself and some kind of background noise. We encourage people to show work that they're working on if they need some critique or feedback. It's just a really great community that is growing, and it allows for growth in both individually and as a unit. My time with Fandango has been one of the most meaningful stuff that I have done in my career. The ability to talk to other creative professionals about what they do and why they do it is a joy.
So
So I would totally recommend you come.
Is it just the is it just illustrators, or do you have graphic
Well,
designers?
no, it literally, we have web designers, we have some photographers that show up from time to time, and we have people from all levels of experience. We have people just starting. We have people that have been doing it for years. We have a animator who is regularly on and just draws everything that we're talking about. Never says a word, just draws, just like,
I know who that is. Yep.
Sketch. Yes, I'm sure you do.
He's awesome.
Sketch notes, everything that people are talking about. It's a great environment. And if you are either new to the freelance business, or you just want to talk to other freelance professionals, I would absolutely recommend. The invite is always open. That goes for you too, Ed. Anytime you want to stop by.
I'll make it there. If I start the pancakes earlier, I'll be able to make it.
There you go. There you go.
So Andrew was wondering if the 16th edition is the most recent. Yes, it is.
It is indeed.
So we are now at the end here. I want to say thank you, James, so much for joining me and being my new regular host. We may have to move our times or dates around a little bit, folks, once the summer gets underway a little more. But we hope that you'll join us every month. You can see previous episodes. It's easiest to find them on the Guild's LinkedIn page. Previous episodes of Mind Your Creative Business, and we'll be here every month, typically the third Wednesday so far of every month. And thanks for joining us. And Yannick, thanks for the great comments, and everyone else, thanks for the great questions. And we're excited to see you at Freelance Fandango or at any other of the Guild events. Just gotta check out the calendar and sign up ahead of time. Thanks, James. Take care.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.